Hello, and welcome to another week of whatever this live stream is. Thanks for being here. Good to see where everybody's joining from, as always. Say hi in the chat if you are here. Let me know where you're joining from. If you haven't already, we'll get you up on the map. And otherwise, we're going to kick things off. Always good to see folks in the chat. I forgot to bring my chat up because I'm doing too many things this morning. We do have a special guest today. And I see he's already in the chat. Also, John from Here to Record will be joining us shortly. It has been a while, so that will be great. And he's going to give us a demo of H2R Layouts, which I don't think I've actually talked very much about on this stream yet. So it'll be fun. IT never gets old. Why did your name get all lowercase? Wait, all the names are lowercase. YouTube changed something. Now it's all like just the at name. How did the bike thing go? I will share the video from that next week. But if you're in the Discord, then I already shared a couple of little clips. But we're gonna save that topic for next week because we've got John here today, and want to a celebrity guest. Wanna save the show for that. So, oh yeah. Some of the names are uppercase, like Clear Life Media, but it's the at name. Now there's no spaces in the names anymore. Huh. All right. Well, I guess that's fine. Now you know how to at mention people in the chat. Great. Okay. So with any luck, we're going to see if we can get John to join us live right now. So yes, say hi, give John a nice round of applause, warm welcome. Here he is.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I hope you can hear and see me just fine. I'm guessing so. And you'll let me know if you can hear me or see me. But you know, all good. Nice to be here, Aaron. Thank you for having me. And it has been. I can't even remember the last time we chatted. Never mind. We're live together. I suppose NAB in Vegas. That was the last time we chatted.
That was the last time. Double audio, says Grish.
Ooh. Fun.
That's fun. Hang on. I can fix it. There's a lot going on here. So double audio probably is one from oh, that's so funny because I swear I had checked all this. Do I have an extra audio in here? John, can you say something again? Let me plug in the headphones to the other one.
Yes. Test. Double. Potentially.
Okay, it's doubling up in the Rodecaster.
Strange.
Same problem as we were having at the beginning, where the Rodecaster is getting audio twice, one from Zoom USB and one from the HDMI I'm sending back in. Try this.
Okay, trying now. Can you hear me once or twice?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, lovely.
Once. And now
great.
I will plug in my headphones to the right.
Once is enough, I think.
Not get a double of myself. Great.
Okay.
Yeah. So
fixed. I see.
Quick before we get going. Quick summary of what just happened because people I know want to know. I have the Rodecaster here, which we're using for bringing John in, but I'm using Zoom ISO. So Zoom ISO is sending John's video into the Rodecaster, but that means his audio is coming in through that also. And of course, the Rodecaster is also a USB device, so it wants to send the audio into Zoom through USB and the audio out. So now we had 2 copies of John's audio in here, and now we are reduced to 1. So hopefully things are back, and I will do a quick little quick level check for John's audio just to make sure that we're about balanced. So yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, welcome, John.
You can fix that on the fly.
While I am tweaking levels, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your channel, actually, since in case people don't know who you are.
Good question. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been chatting on the channel here, so I may as well chat about what I've been up to over the last few years. Effectively, I started out doing kind of what you were doing, I suppose, as well, Aaron, which was capturing conferences and, you know, meetups and all that kind of stuff for people. And then from there, I started building small little tools to go alongside my coverage of those, like a graphics tool and a gear planning piece of software as well, H2R Gear. And then over the last few years, basically, I've stopped most of my video work, stopped being on site, and I'm mostly sitting here in the studio slash office space and making the software all the time. So we're working on other things like space comms, a comms solution, rundown studio, a run of show solution, all web-based tools basically. And then what brought us to chatting today and you allowing me, shall we say, to get on the show is a layouts tool. I've kind of built that before, and we can dig into the details on that before or later, sorry. But effectively now I've made a app version that people can, you know, change the super source layout in their ATEM switchers. So it's been a lot of software over the years, but almost entirely in the realm of live streaming and video production. That's where I've focused most of my efforts. And then I do some live streams. I've tried weekly live streams and I've succeeded and failed at that many a time. And now I just do them occasionally whenever I have some fun stuff to show off or to chat about. And I've enjoyed it a lot. And I guess I should have you on the channel as well at some point, Aaron. It would only be fair.
Yeah, that'd be fun. You did do live streams for quite a long time, right?
Yeah. I managed for a good long time to do live streams, and I was just, it's out of reach right now, but we built that the PK1 ATEM Extreme, ATEM Mini Extreme stand on a live stream once, me and you. I remember doing that. Well, I did the work and you instructed me. So that was like, you know, 3 offices, 2 houses ago. It's been a minute since I did that.
It's right. Yeah, you've been moving a lot too.
Cool.
Yeah,
well, I don't love moving, but I just tend to do it.
I also don't like moving, and instead I just rearrange the stuff inside the same room. So, yeah.
I've seen that a few times. And I've also, in an effort to clean up my computer, I also left the meeting on my laptop. So you'll have to add me back in there again, and so I can screen share my computer.
Yep.
We were having some fun before as I jump between computers and set things up again and again. So I'm sure folks will forgive me as I jump around and try to set things up on my computer.
Yeah, there we go.
I've also been on vacation for a week, and I've been sick this week as well. So a lot of excuses for things not working properly.
Great. Okay, looks like we're back. We've got you all properly routed into the Rodecaster with your video and your screen share. So I think we're good to go.
Wonderful. All right. So
you talked about how you work on a lot of software. We're going to talk about H2R layouts today. First, I think we need to set the stage for the context of H2R layouts being like, it's for an ATEM super source, right? So let's talk a little bit about ATEMs first, and because even though we are using the Rodecaster video today, H2R layouts is for the Blackmagic ATEM switchers, right?
Yeah, you know, I like to make things a little more complicated, so it's actually more complicated than that, which is classic.
Great.
So the original tool itself, which is still available on layouts.heretorecord.com, I'm showing that on my screen share now, is the place to go to build layouts for ATEM switchers. So if I go into like the layout builder, I made this so that you could build your own custom layout for things like Supersource. You know, in the ATEM, some models, certainly in the mini extremes, and then the bigger ATEMs that are like the 2 of me I have here beside me, you can do these funky layouts where up to 4 boxes can go next to each other, right? But if you've ever used the ATEM software control to do that, there's a lot of clicking, and not fun clicking like here, more like frustrating clicking to do that. So the original tool made several years ago now was to build these sort of side-by-sides or 4-ups or whatever way you want to do it for the ATEM. And you could scroll down and you could copy paste a big macro code paste that into your macro pool in the ATEM, and then restore that settings file. And then now you have macros that you can jump to this actual layout. Same way you would just save a layout in the ATEM in the macros, so you could actually recall that layout. Loads of people do that. I do that all the time for ATEM switchers, that you rarely change these layouts. You always have, big side by side, just like you're looking at right here on the stream, right? Classic layouts. And then maybe you want a version that's the other way around. The person's on the left and the screen share's on the right. So the reason I made this original tool was basically just to do that. So you could make this layout really quickly and you didn't have to do a lot of clicking. And in fact, at the time, you could also, and still, go on the website and build layouts for vMix as well. So you can actually download these and bring these right into vMix and use them in there. So that's sort of the original tool, was a web-based, download the macro, restore it into the ATEM. That way you can jump between those layouts with your macros, buttons on certain ATEMs where you can jump between macros, or with companion and stuff like that.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that version of it. Super, super useful. I forgot that you had added vMix to it.
There's things, when I was rediscovering this, like in the last 6 months or so, there's things in here I was like, oh, I should have always added that. Oh, wait. And then I scroll down and I find that I already added that months ago. So don't feel bad that you forgot features were existent, because I too forgot about them.
Cool. Okay. So that's layouts.heretorcore.com. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Now, if you're a heavy user of ATEMs, which I imagine many of the audience are, or at least watched your content on them, or are familiar with this sort of macro-y kind of flow of things, what you effectively are doing in the ATEM is recalling a set of instructions that the ATEM has no real idea about where it was before you press that button. So if I wanted to move the layout we're looking at right now, right? If I wanted to move me up and you down and animate between those two things, whenever you recall that in a macro, it doesn't really know like where I am, where you are, where the boxes are, what's going on there. So that was always, I felt, a limitation of the web-based approach. As easy as it was, because I didn't have to like make an offline app, and I didn't have to worry about connecting to the ATEM. I always thought someday, I really want to connect to the ATEM, and I know what the ATEM, where the ATEM is right now, and where I want the boxes to go, and you can actually do calculations between those two things and animate. But not only that, that's just a nice little bonus, actually. All the other stuff, the creating the layout on the website, and then downloading that, and then restoring it into the XML, and then kind of finding it within the macros. Even that, I also thought was a bit cumbersome whenever I was creating it, but I just knew it was a way to get to the the end result that I really wanted. So that was kind of the reason I wanted to jump back in again and take a look and see, can I appify this and connect to the ATEM, and that's what I've been working on the last few months.
Cool. So, okay. Tell us. So,
cool. So next,
what's next? Also, if anybody has questions,
the next step
in the chat, feel free to drop them in with the letter Q in front, and it'll put it into my little questions column so I can grab them. We got a new customer who signed up yesterday, so there you go.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. And a gentle plug, before I continue, I said that you bought H2R Graphics, and I'm sure you saw up on the H2R Graphics website that we have for the next, I guess, what day is it today? Oh, my internet is letting me down. It's 29th of June today, so one more day we have a summer sale that ends tomorrow. So I'm guessing you saw that code whenever you jumped on the site, but if you didn't, then just let me know. Kaz. Always fun to pronounce people's usernames.
Yes.
So that's the background to where we got to, and then what I wanted to build after that. So now we have an app version, and on my computer here I have the app downloaded. That was, I've come prepared, luckily.
Great.
And what I can do here now is, in this application, in fact, I need to disconnect, but in this application, I can connect to my ATEM over the network. So I know my ATEM Mini Extreme, which is sitting on the desk beside me here, well, you can't quite see it, but it doesn't matter, is connected to the same network, right? So I can just grab the IP address of that, just like you would if you were going to connect to the ATEM over Companion or something like that. You probably already know your IP addresses, which is good. And I can connect to that ATEM. And what I've done here is also connected via the webcam output, just so I could see this preview of my ATEM. This is what's live on my ATEM right now.
And that way we can see what's going on without just in the screen share. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the SuperSource layout that's on there right now. And I have a bunch of layouts here that come with the app. You know, you can always add more later. That I can jump between. So when I click on them, I get this nice little animation between the layouts. So you can imagine if you connect to your ATEM now, instead of the previous method, which would have jumped to the layout, which I can still do if I toggle off the animate between layouts feature. And maybe there's some shows where this is perfect, right? Not everybody wants an animation. Not everybody needs an animation. You know, it's fine to not animate. And it's obviously a lot faster and snappier not to do it. But if you've got a show that's maybe, you know, fast-paced, you can do like a nice little swooshy animation between them. Or if you have something that's maybe a little more serious, it shouldn't be quite so flashy, shall we say, then you can use that nice slower animation that moves between each of the layouts. And as I said before, the benefit here is that I'm talking to the ATEM now with the app, and I can say, okay, where were you before I click this button? And where was box 1 and 2 and 3 and 4? Okay, well, this is where I want them to be. And then I'll send you a bunch of commands basically to animate from where you were to where you are. Well, it's funny that it's not even a feature in the ATEM, so there's no way of saying like, hey, animate from there to here. I know it's not a crucial feature at all, but it's just one of those tiny little details that sometimes
it's interesting
so
because
much, right?
the upstream keys do have the animation feature in the ATEM, right? Because you can set the keyframes between, you can set keyframes for the upstream key properties, and it can slide one box around, but there's nothing like that for the SuperSource.
I don't get it. I'm surprised that they haven't added that. And you know, it works out for me, like many things. If they add a graphics generator in there, I'm unhappy. If they add a SuperSource animator now, I'm unhappy. But, you know, it's good for most users, so that's okay if they do. But in the meantime, it's fun to build these tools and then take advantage of features. And maybe it makes them make the feature. Maybe they're like, well, we don't need to bother now. That's nice. So that's where we're at.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see a lot of uses for the animated boxes, because like right now, you know, I've got this layout here, and then I've got this layout with just you where I disappear, and then, you know, I've also got the side by side of us, and it would look a lot nicer if it was like shifting around between the layouts instead of jumping. That's very cool.
Yeah, there's definitely times in many shows I've done before where like you would never want to animate in a box, like it just wouldn't fit at all. But there's also so many times, just a new guest, like today you introduced me, and just me sort of swooshing in to the side, it just really works in those contexts. So I think it's a nice to have, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool. So okay, so
so as you saw there,
I have a couple
go ahead.
I see a couple of things in here that I want to ask about, and then we'll take some of the questions in the chat also. So I see 7 layouts here that looks like you've created before, right? Can you show me the process of creating a new layout? Because I see an add layout button.
Yes, good question. So until this version, there was only an import option, and that I'll just cover that real quick because there's a few options in there. Actually, you can import from the ATEM.
That's
if there's one connected and you've created a perfect layout, I can click on that. Now, obviously, this looks the same. I'm pointing at my screen here as if you know what I'm pointing at. This one looks the same as the other one because that's what it looked like. But if I mess with my SuperSource and I import it from the ATEM, then it'll show up whatever was on the SuperSource, which is one of those features that were asked for instantly as I launched it. So that's cool.
That's handy.
And then the second one, of course, is I've been getting people to build XMLs for years now, and I've been selling packs actually of like hundreds of layouts that you don't have to build them yourself. So why not support that as well? Of course. So you
So
can
that's like
paste
the
in. In fact,
XML
if I go
export that you would create in this tool or in the presets that you would download.
exactly, or in the ATEM if you have an old ATEM XML file as well, right? This is
Sure.
this is the same stuff that's in there. So if I copy that, I can paste that into my little box here, and I get that same layout as well,
Look at
pasted
that.
in from the supersource macros. Um,
That's super
and
cool.
if you did purchase any of the packs in the past, then all of those files are the same macro that I've just pasted in there. So you can of course use all those. Something I want to add is a way to import many at a time, because I sold like a pack of 120 layouts, and I'm going to make you do that 120 times. Of course not, but I haven't quite got there yet. And I see some questions about, what about this feature? Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
list already, but please keep coming, because I like, for some reason, I like long to-do lists. So
Okay,
so
wait.
that's
So
how you import.
let's
Go
talk
ahead.
about this one. I like this one. Can you change the background art in H2R
Mm-hmm.
layouts?
No, you cannot. I've thought about that. It's it's one of those features that's like, okay, I'll put it on the list, but unfortunately, it's just a little bit further down, because I think like that's, to me, quite easy to do in the ATEM software control, and I
Well,
feel like with Companion as
counterpoint.
well, it's quite easy to do. Okay,
I
go
will give
ahead.
you an argument, which is the next question. Is there a workaround to create borders for
Uh-huh.
supersource boxes in the ATEM Mini Extreme? So when the ATEM doesn't have supersource borders, the only real
Mm,
option is to make artwork that has holes for the supersource slots.
you're right.
And then that pairs very closely with H2R layouts, where you could even imagine you could create a feature in H2R layouts that would create the holes based on the position of the boxes.
That is also true. Yes. So I would imagine that if I was going to add the feature of artwork, that I would go, so to speak, all in on it in the way that you've described. So like the
Mm-hmm.
punch out version with borders in there. But in my head, I'm already thinking like, ooh, yeah, that's going to be a fun challenge. So I'll set aside some time to get that right. But yes, those things
Okay.
are possible with this method. But oh,
I can see you're
but how would
already.
you? Yeah, no. Oh, see, this is the fun part about tricky questions, because I would have to like supply a video feed basically of foreground art with punch outs. No, I couldn't do that. Huh. Anyway, it's a good question. I'll have to think about it. I'd have
You
to
could, I mean, you would generate
upload images
a
into the
still.
media player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Upload an image into the
Yeah,
media
exactly.
player. Yep.
Mm. The question then would be, not to dig too far into it, but how fast. I've been surprised, and it's nice to see how fast the ATEM responds to these requests coming in to change the box positions. I found it to
Mm-hmm.
be relatively smooth, actually. But in my previous mild testing or seeing other people use the upload feature into the media pool, I think that's fairly slow. So it
Yeah,
may
I mean, it
be,
takes like a second or
there
two.
may be a slowdown there.
So
It
it's not
does.
something
And we
I
want to
would.
be doing it like many times a second.
Oh, I wasn't thinking for animated. I was thinking just,
Oh, okay.
yeah, make it a lot easier for you. No, I was just thinking that it's
That's true.
for the still layouts where you have the instant, actually not even for the instant switch between them, just the ability to automatically create the cutout, because that's the fiddly part of like, in order to do that, I will have to grab a snapshot of the live feed with layout made, pull it into like QuickTime, pull it into Photoshop, cut out the boxes, export the graphic back, et cetera, right? So I could imagine very quickly being able to have H2R layouts sort of do all that based on the dimensions that it knows about, and
Hmm.
just export a still graphic to the media pool, and then yeah, not nothing like animated. It doesn't have to work fast. It's not going to be. I wouldn't expect it to even
Okay.
auto switch. Although you could actually, if you use multiple media pool slots for the different layouts, you could queue up
That's true.
You could queue up your different overlays, and then they're in the media pool, and then you can do the cutover clean.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
true. Okay,
You said you wanted a long to-do
sounds
list,
more
so here you
acceptable.
go.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a little bit shorter there actually if I take off the
Okay.
animation, so
Yeah.
that's actually not too bad. Nice. Um, so that's a couple of features already then on the list. Okay, I'm going to get my notepad out here just to make sure I'm keeping track of all this.
Yep. Well,
Um,
if Zoom AI is on, it'll give you a transcription, right?
that's true. Yeah, too late. I'll have to
Too
watch this
late.
back later. And the other thing you mentioned was no, it's on. Thanks for that.
Yep.
Um, adding layout. So then, since I
Oh yeah.
built this sort of builder in the cloud, so to speak, I figured I might as well just port that into the app as well. So you can edit any of the layouts that you have in your app already by editing them, or you can add a new layout, which just adds like a very simple one. And then in here, I can do what I did on the cloud or the web-based version. So just move all the boxes around and create the layout that I want to create. I
That's very
found
cool.
this there was a lot more room in the browser to do this, and in the app it becomes a bit more tricky. So I know I've got more things to do there, but it'll let you do all the things you want to do. So the old interactive interface is not. I can see why they didn't add one, to be honest, because it's not the most fun and easy challenge to solve.
Yeah. Well,
But now
and
you can create your own.
in the Rodecaster, which is what I'm using for this,
Hmm.
this is it's sort of like super source generator, right? Where it
Yeah.
works completely differently from the ATEM, but I've got this visual editor, and I can create the boxes and click on one and scale it. And as soon as I use the Rodecaster for the first time and use their first version of the builder, I gave them a very long list of feature requests because
Mm.
it's hard to make a useful editor like this. Like my first request was for boxes to snap, because I was like trying to line things up and they didn't snap at all. So now I can drag this and see how the red line is like snapping to the center, and it like snaps to the edges of things, and it knows about like lining up the tops of the boxes or with the bottom of the edge. All that was not in there in the first version, and thankfully they added it because it makes it a lot easier to manage this now.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely
Yes.
sympathies for creating all that UI.
I wish I could say I had snapping in there, but it's not. It's not made it in there yet because that's a tough one.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's how you get layouts into the tool, and obviously you can just delete them if you don't want them anymore to clear things off again.
Yep.
Um, that answered that question. Good,
Yeah.
solid questions, and already good ideas.
Let's see what's going on in the chat. Gerhard says, "Hello, John. I used the Layouts app in the last 2 live streams of our services. It worked great. Also, the companion module." Oh, yes. And somebody else asked about companion. Does it work with companion? Clear Life Media.
Yes, is the answer, but only recently. So if you had used layouts within the first few weeks of its life, then Companion wasn't quite in there yet. And part of that reason is because I was a bit slow to get it done, and the other part was that they just released V4, which has sort of
Mhm.
helped me and also hindered me a little, but mostly it's actually helped me in the end because if you're unfamiliar with the V4 release and what changed in that, they decoupled the modules from the core, and now you can they ship the app without the modules, which allows people like me who are late to V4 to ship a new version of the module and get it approved, and then it actually can show up, which if they didn't release that, I'd still be waiting probably like 3 to 6 months for it to become out of the beta version and into the official
Right.
release of Companion. So it actually worked out very nicely in the end. Um, so yes, I have my Companion here somewhere. If I can move some things out of the way. Yeah, so if you download V4 of Companion, as far as I know, it'll never come to V3 dot anything, because I guess they're done adding things to that. I don't even know if they patch release fixes anymore on the old versions. So V4 will be the way to go. And what you can do is in the modules area, you can look for layouts. Obviously, I have it installed already, but you can look for H2R Layouts in there, and it'll show up, and then you can add in the latest release, which was released 10 days ago as of this live stream, so fairly fresh. And you will want to be on the latest version of Layouts as well if you, like I said, have downloaded the previous versions. And there's not much to it actually in terms of the connection. You just need to connect up the sort of WebSocket, which I've given an example to. If you're on the same computer, you can just basically copy paste this into the target URL, and you're talking right to the app. It should go green, should be happy. Any issues there, just let me know. But what you get in return, of course, and you're already seeing a little preview of it here, but is all of the variables. So H2R Layouts variables. I have some settings ones, like is the animation enabled and what kind of animation easing are we using, etc., etc. Oh. But more exciting is like the total number of layouts. I don't know why I added that, but it's in there. But you have all the names of the layouts as well, which are handy to know.
Yep.
And that's the variables, which are cool for the buttons.
There's a question here. Would it be possible to add another condition if the layout number is on or off? Is that possible?
I'll have to patch the app and the companion module, unfortunately, to do that, because in my infinite wisdom, which is, I get it all right all the time. But what I never added actually to the app was like whenever you call up one of these layouts, remember that that's the one you called up. And I specifically didn't do that at the time of creating the app, because I thought, well, if I click this and it said, yes, this is the last one you showed, and then you went into the ATEM software control and you messed with companion or with the layout in SuperSource, then this would not be true anymore. Like it isn't actually the layout that you've got active,
But wouldn't you be able to know if the SuperSource properties changed from what should be the current layout? So you could
could, but I feel like I'd be constantly checking, like, okay, because there's so many elements in there, like, are the boxes enabled? What size are they? I just felt like, absolutely, you could. I guess what I was doing was just saying, like, I don't think we need that. Never mind. And then, of course, the classic.
Yeah.
Instantly, the next week, you're like, well, it would be lovely to know.
And you got another vote from Aaron. Would love to see the name of the current layout as a variable.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually I'll probably keep it pretty simple. So if you do click on one and then you change it in the ATEM, for now I'll just say, like, you know what, that was your choice. You hopefully knew what you were doing. It's fine. That's the last one you clicked on. And then I can just ship a new version of the app with that. And then the companion variable as well, which is, again, with the V4, both of these things are actually very easy to get out the door fairly fast. Putting aside the old summer holidays classic excuse.
And that sounds fine for a first version anyway, because I would expect that if you are using this in a live production, you're probably only using H2R Layouts to manage your SuperSource at that point, certainly live. So that seems fine.
Yeah. I think so. I think so too. I think the benefit of getting that variable show up, current one, last one clicked, or current SuperSource layout, is totally worth it. So I will for sure add that. That one's pretty high up in the list, for sure.
Tell me about the little images in the buttons. Are those automatic?
Yeah, this is fun. Yes, these are automatic, and this is my favorite part of the the whole thing. Yes, you can see the layouts that I have on my app here have populated by name, which is which is great and all, but it's not as cool as as presets. But it's not as cool as this, which is the images of each of those being populated as well. So these are the actual layouts images that are stored in the application and getting passed over to Companion. Another reason why things took me a bit longer is because I was trying to do it a different way, but now the app itself holds all this information. So if I rearrange these, put the 4 box first, you'll notice when I go back, it's actually not changed, but I think that's just Companion doesn't reload the presets until you go back and go in again. But now you can see there that the 4 box is first up, and I can just drag that into the my buttons here, and I've got this nice little preview of what it looks like, and it actually has the name too in there. But what did I do? I set the name to transparent text, so you can actually see it, so it doesn't mess with the image. But now, as I do have my web buttons here, this is like classic, like totally works, and then you click the button and it doesn't work case. But yeah, okay, cool. So I now have like the buttons clickable in my Companion setup, and then I can use that on future shows, and you can press the right button. The only quirk is that Companion doesn't really let you send new images to a button that's already been dragged and dropped into here without doing a lot of feedbacky things. So if I was to like start removing a bunch of layouts, I might mess with my setup a little bit, but don't worry about it. If you're not worried about it, don't worry about it. That would be my thing. But I love these. I love having these little presets here that you can see what you're doing. Oh, and one feature, sorry to interrupt you, one feature, I'm getting excited now, of the Companion module that's not actually in the app is that you have this run to full options as well. So if I drag those in, then clicking those takes you straight to the full screen version of the layout or the box itself, which is something I never added here. I guess I should at some point, but you can jump between the sort of the 4 box and the singles from these Companion presets, which is quite nice.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Couple questions.
So that's Companion.
Brian says, sorry if I missed this, but can you nudge individual boxes with arrow keys 1 pixel at a time since snapping isn't integrated? It's a good suggestion.
That is true. Let me make sure you can before I... Yes, you can. You can barely see it on the screen here. But...
is it just up arrow in the text box? Yeah.
Exactly. So all these boxes here they all have like boxes that you can get into, so you can actually use your keys on your keyboard to jump between these. So yeah, that's true. You could nudge it into position so that things line up nicely with each other.
Cool.
Let's see. In theory, anyway, right? But like snapping, obviously, is a much nicer way to do it.
But at least you can always copy the numbers since you're showing actual numbers here. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, another question from Aaron. What is the limitation of the frame rate or smoothness of the animation based on? Is it a limitation of the ATEM, stability, number of API calls?
To be determined would be my real answer.
First, before you answer that, I do want to add that what you're seeing on the stream is Zoom screen sharing into Zoom ISO out through NDI onto the screen. So, stream. So what you're seeing in the preview of the little QuickTime window is definitely not 30 frames a second, and it's not what's showing up on John's ATEM either. You're seeing a low frame rate version through Zoom because Zoom screen share drops the frame rate to boost the resolution.
That is a great point. I found using it is actually, I've been very surprised by how smooth it was when I started playing with it. So I've been super happy with that. I haven't actually tried setting my ATEMs to anything but 50 or 60p, where it looks very smooth. I'm not sure how well it would look when you move down to like 25 or 30.
But I guess the question
I would imagine that the usual
the question is, I guess, the app the H2R Layouts app is sending like individual commands every time it wants to move one notch, right? So it is like there is some constraint of how fast can the computer get the message to the ATEM here.
Yes, that's okay. Yeah. I get you now. Yes, exactly. So what we kind of do is say what you're effectively doing by setting a speed is like how many steps. I actually call it steps under the hood. So slow is like, let's say 100 steps. and extra fast is like 25 steps or whatever the numbers are that I've set in there. So the app itself will decide how many steps to send, and then it will send a step and then wait like maybe it's like 10 milliseconds. I can't remember exactly what number I said in there. And it's also checking for like using promises as well under in the module as well, just to make sure that things are not going crazy. But effectively, it's sending that every like I can't exactly remember the number, but it's sending a load more over a longer period of time whenever you want to go slow, and then a lot less or fewer in a less fewer shorter period of time whenever you want to go fast. Uh, I don't exactly know how many it can send though, or how many is supported because I don't even think it's a supported sort of thing.
Would you time it to the duration of a frame? So like if your ATEM is in 30 frames a second, then send one command every 30th of a second.
You could, I could, I'd be interested to tinker with that definitely and see which way it looks sort of best in the long run.
Because I feel like if you
Because I
analyzed
know,
it frame by frame,
mm,
if the commands are getting sent at a random, well, arbitrary interval that doesn't match up with your frame rate, you're going to have some um, either doubled or skipped animations once you actually
mm,
look at the resulting 30 frames or 50 or 60, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's worth having a look at because I haven't found it to be that for that to be the case at all in
Okay.
my sort of testing around. So if I recommend you have a try and see how it looks. But
Yeah.
if, like I said, if you were to use 30 or 25, maybe it would have different outcomes than what I've tested in like 50 and stuff. So I'd be quite keen to tweak it or at least allow for some sort of settings or know what the ATEM is set to and then be responsive to that as well, just in case I can cover all the bases, so to speak.
Yep. Okay, a couple other
Hmm.
questions. Hans asks, is there ease in and ease out?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I have ease in, ease in out, and linear as well as the sort of built-in easing methods here. So you can choose any of those if you want. Um, I don't know why in the world you would pick linear. You can if you wish. Um, I'm a fan of ease in out. That's what it comes
Hmm.
as default, but I tend to use the other ones as well. Here and there for shows. So yeah, like I said, the speed and the easing are definitely show and style dependent, where it really makes sense to match other graphics in your show or the speed of the show and that kind of stuff. If there's other easing things in there, you could ask me to add them in there, and that could be possible as well. But I felt like these were the classic choices.
Yeah, yeah. Let your nerd be heard asks, can you do everything that the macro does with companion actions so you don't have to worry about having macros? You don't need
Can you
macros
do
to use any of
everything
this though, right? What you just showed doesn't use macros
correct?
anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should have been extra clear about that. But yes, this is macroless, macro free. The only reason that we're mentioning macros, I suppose, is because you can paste the macro code from the website, which is sort of like the legacy um, behavior of the
Yeah.
whole app that I made.
Okay.
But now, yes, there's no macros involved at all. It doesn't save any macros or use any macros on your ATEM, and it talks. The app itself talks directly to the ATEM and sends commands to the ATEM, and the companion part is only really telling the app what commands to send to the ATEM.
Cool. Makes sense.
Mm?
Another question from Aaron. Do you anticipate it'll be possible to make folders or some other management tools for layouts in the app?
That's one I've get. Maybe Aaron, you've also sent me a message about that actually. But yeah, I've been asked a few times. My plan, throwing it out there, and people can give me their thoughts in the chat. Actually, is one of the things that I would use it for would be that I would jump in and maybe tag some of these. Like, let's say I tagged the first four as like Aaron PK livestream, and I tagged the next four as like general use or show March 2025, and then I could filter those tags down and or clear them out so that there's sort of a page based style where I could have hundreds of layouts, explore them in the app, tag them and filter them down to the ones I just need for this show, and then next week I can remove all tags and do the same thing again. That's kind of how I was thinking about doing it. Because I didn't want to go, I kind of wanted just to keep it like what would be I think, fairly simple approach that would be usable by many people, because you can give multiple tags to multiple layouts. Whereas if I did pages and you move them into pages, then you start thinking about like, okay, drag drop into these pages, and do I have to put it in one page and not the other? I don't know.
Tags make a lot of sense to me, because you could also, because then when you're filtering, you could also filter for things that are not tags, like number of boxes in the layout. So like, show me all of my 4-up layouts, or show me all of my 2-up layouts, and then quickly just filter. Yeah. And I like being able to add multiple tags. I could definitely see doing that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, cool. I think unless there's a sudden outcry in the live chat over the next 15 minutes, then I'll head down that path.
Great.
But this would be a good time.
Okay, another question. Out of curiosity, are you using the reverse engineered protocol or the Blackmagic SDK?
Oh, reverse engineered all the way. Yeah, this is using is it ATEM connection? There's the NPM module and part of the Sophie TV stuff. So it's the class. It's the same one that's used in Companion to talk to the ATEM, as well, as far as I last remember, at least the last time I checked. So it's using that, which is all backwards engineered. None of that is using the official SDK, which is a shame. I'd love to see them, release an official one for folks on this side that want to do that kind of stuff.
At this point, they should just...
Until then, it'll be reverse engineered.
Yeah, they should just take that SDK and make it their own first-party SDK, frankly. It's like, that's what everybody uses.
Just do it. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't gotten there yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get there at some point. I'd be happy to see that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Gwen says, not a question, just want to offer some appreciation to John. Learned a lot from him over the years. That's very nice. Thanks, Gwen.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's really nice. Thanks, Gwen.
Steve has a good question. Is there any discount for your loyal viewers here?
There is, and I will set it up right now as you chat about something else, because that's one thing that time ran out on before we had this show. So
okay.
You can skip showing my screen skip my screen for a few minutes while I sort that out, and then
great.
Then yes will be the answer.
Fantastic. Well, while you do that, let's see what else is going on in the chat here. Keith sent a super chat. Thank you. Great to see you both together on a stream. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Maybe I will put that towards my H2R Layouts purchase. Clear Life Media says, I still have my H2R lanyard from NAB in my bag. Oh, nice. You got another support. H2R has helped me a ton in productions for the last few years. Very thankful to have learned it from office hours. Cool. Oh, and you've got a vote of support for tags. I think tags would be super. Hopefully that way it wouldn't mess with the companion integration. Fantastic. And and Aaron says, I'm asking out of curiosity, it's plenty smooth. Yeah, I feel like our little demo here with the Zoom screen share is not doing it justice. I will have to find a way to do a better demo of that at some point. Live. Did you get it? Oh, you're dropping it in the chat. Great.
Yeah.
Nils asks, do you plan to include or bundle or combine the pre-made layout packs?
Great question. Now that I've popped that in the chat, RMPK, all uppercase. I hope I spelled your name right. Yeah, I did. Yep. Sometimes I just worry. So that's actually a really good question, because what I wanted to make sure of, again, was whenever you, and I'm just checking back on my site here just to make sure. Whenever you set things up and you're like, yeah, that's totally going to be the case, and then you forget exactly how you structured stuff. Yes. So just to talk about payment then. Now we're all good to show my screen again, by the way.
Great.
You can download the app, and it is a paid app. I should have mentioned that earlier. So I've done it basically by like a single license. You can download this and use it on your computer as you wish on that computer. And I have a Windows version and a Mac OS, Apple Silicon and Intel. They're both in there when you purchase, and you'll get download links to them. Or you can do the all the platforms version. And these all include the original big pack, I called it, of layouts. So that's like the 120 plus layouts where you can just copy paste those XML one by one, as I mentioned before, but you can still copy paste them in there. I doubt you're going to need all 120. You may as well just throw in the ones that you really want. And like I said, in the RMPK discount code there, you can use that at the checkout here. If I messed that up setting it up live, then you'll let me know in the chat and I can fix that in a minute. So that's sort of the pricing, and then the discount, and yes, it includes the layouts pack so that you can actually just get started with those layouts and use them. And I've written here no vMix support at this time in the app. I just wanted to make sure it was clear, since the other web tool supports both ATEM and vMix, and the download tool only does ATEM currently. I mean, I'd love to get vMix in there someday, but I just haven't had the time just yet. It is an ATEM only one, and I think since we've talked about ATEM so specifically this whole time, then you'll get it. And in here you can watch an intro video that will show the nice smoothness to the animation and all that stuff, as you mentioned, Arne. I know you were just wondering on the details about it, so that's cool. So that's that.
Perfect. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple more questions here and comments. Mm-hmm. Harry says, just want to say, keep up the good teaching. I've learned a lot from you guys. Thanks for giving back to Spanish community. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Cool. Keith asks, do you have the ATEM G2 on order? I don't.
Me? I don't. No. At this point, I am at capacity for ATEMs. I do not need any more ATEMs. I was thinking about selling this to me, to be honest, because I really am using it right now as a 4-input switcher with SuperSource, and I have the ATEM Mini Extreme on the table here. And in my office at the next door over, I have my sort of day-to-day meeting set up where I get work done, and in the background is like the museum of all the ATEMs I've purchased. So I literally, I'm not allowing myself to buy any more or get any more. I'll happily get one to look at if they can send one my way for a short time, but it's one of those things I'm like, please, after 2 weeks or a month, take it back, because I don't need more bits lying around here.
Well, actually, on that, Steve asks, which ATEMs are supported?
Great question. Anything with, anything with SuperSource. So that would be the Mini Extreme ISO, the G2, the 2ME and 4ME, the 8K switcher, all of those. Oh, and if there is 2 SuperSources in your switcher, you will get a drop down in the H2R Layouts app about which SuperSource you want to control. It doesn't currently, before anybody asks, it doesn't currently support the what do you call it? What's that word that they use whenever they scatter two or stack two together?
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's a word, and it's just completely left my head. Someone will have it in
Cascade.
The chat, I'm sure. Cascade, thank you. That is not a word that I use very commonly, so it didn't stay with me. But all the times I've used ATEMs with 2 SuperSources, it's on jobs, and I can never get a chance to sit and like figure out how that works and what's going on there. So I've never gotten around to getting that working just yet. So, but like I said, if you have one of the bigger switchers, you can choose which SuperSource index that you go from. In fact, if you connect any ATEM, I think it will connect to the app, but only the ones with SuperSource are really the ones you want to connect to, because that's the feature you're specifically talking to, right? So stick with those.
Yeah. Wood turning tool store says, I may have missed it. Is there a way to quickly change the input selection for each SuperSource box?
Oh, that's something that's a really good question, because it's not something that the app actually does. So right now, this might be just an open question for people. Sometimes I don't include features, not because it's not a good idea, but because I'm like, I don't even know how I should do that. So in the web app, if I build a layout here, I can choose the source of the layout, but it's a very limited, specifically for some reason, 12 camera layout. I guess I don't even know what ATEM I built that for, but there's a specific source selection there, and it will let you set that yes or no input whenever you download the macro, right, into the ATEM, the old-fashioned way. I'm calling it now the old-fashioned way. But in the anything you import into the app ignores that. So whatever is on my, as you can see actually with the background here, whatever is on these boxes, which right now is color 1, color 2, media player 1, media player 2, that's how I'm getting those 4 colors. Those will just stay that way all the time whenever I click between these layouts. Again, a bit like, I guess, what I mentioned earlier with the artwork, and then you had a good answer for. I figured that it is fairly easy to change the sources in Companion of these boxes, so maybe that's something people could set up as a page. But I also completely understand and appreciate and want the other side of the tail there, which is like a way of showing specific boxes whenever I click from this layout to this layout. However, I just haven't really figured out like where should that exist. Should it be in here? Should it matter what ATEM? Of course it should, because you might have bigger ATEM. Somebody today emailed me and said, I want to connect to my ATEM in Extreme and have like a page for that, like we talked about, or a tag. And I want to connect to my 2ME and have a different tag or page for that. And now the question is, okay, which of these do I talk to and how many sources do they have? Sort of you understand as I fall down this thought rabbit hole, how to deal with that. So I've decided, please stop thinking and decide later.
No, that's definitely interesting. Another one to send you down the product development rabbit hole live. Would love to hear about your idea to enhance a particular box. Been spending a bunch of time building multiple versions of each layout with boxes emphasized. It's kind of like what Adam did with Mix Effect, right? Of like slightly zoom in on one in the different layouts.
Yeah. This is actually going to be really simple. With what I'll probably do again is add it to Companion like I did with its preset run to full. It'll be enhance or zoom, whatever word I come up with. Will be the same idea, right? So it takes the 4 box, moves 3 out of the way and brings 1 up, or whatever way that makes sense. Because I am quite keen as well, whenever I use these kind of tools, of not having pages and pages and layouts of all that stuff. And that's why I didn't yet add this run to full option into the app yet, because I didn't want to add more things in here. So I think for now, in the Companion, I'll say, punch in to box 1, punch to box 2, or whatever the term. Enhance makes sense. Zoom and enhance, I like that.
Or highlight, spotlight.
Yeah, or highlight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be great for a little Companion shortcut, I think, because that's probably where you'll want to do that kind of press.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Brian says, would love to see the Cascade option as a paid upgrade. Users with ATEM as 2 super sources probably have deeper pockets. That's a good point. It's a good...
I'll take that, Brian. I'll take your money, and I'll take your money again whenever you upgrade.
Well, I should also thank Brian for sending in the super chat. Thanks a bunch. I appreciate it. Well, now I know
he spent all his money now.
Spent all his money, so now he can't upgrade to the the 2 super source model, the Cascade option.
I've always wondered, Aaron, how do I get half that super chat money? I think you still, from our previous streams, we owe each other money for these super chats. So I guess it all just evens out at some point, right? I owe you, you owe me.
Yeah. Michael says, try this out. And yeah, the Zoom screen share definitely doesn't do the transition smoothness justice. Okay, we'll have to figure out a way to do a demo of it again, because we're out of time this week, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you have a quick way to route your ATEM into your camera. Oh, you do.
Yeah. Look at me already having it set up here.
Okay. Wait, let me go to this layout.
So now.
Oh, yeah. Here, I'll just put you full screen.
Yeah, there we go. I hadn't even thought about that. So now you can see the ATEM super sources taking over the whole screen. And as I click between the layouts, this is not a pre-rendered video. This is me clicking on them. Then you can see that nice smooth, and that's the faster one. With ease out, I could do ease in, out, and medium, and then you can see that it gives such a different effect of a show. You know, you can really see yourself using that on a very different style of show. So good. We should have showed that earlier, but that's exactly how to see it. So thanks for that.
That's great. That's so much better. I should have made a layout for that.
Yeah.
To better show the.
Forgot
anyway,
about that.
No, great. Yeah, thanks for that. That is, and again, that's going over Zoom, but that's going over Zoom's camera feed, which prioritizes frame rate over resolution. So it may have looked a little bit blurry on that stream because it's downscaling it to
That's
what
true.
am I seeing? What am I seeing here? I'm seeing 640 by 360 right now. So low resolution, but high frame rate. Yeah. So it looked a lot better though. I can definitely see the difference.
Good.
And you've got a feature request for the enhanced feature already. It'd be great to have a setting for how much the box is enlarged. Often want to bump something just by 10% or so. I like that idea.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I love that feature. In the works.
May have missed it, but is this a single machine license or can I move it from machine to machine?
This is a single machine license. And if you, I'm being very careful with my word, but if you realize when you download the app and you try it out, you'll notice that it didn't actually ask you for the key. And that's because it's early days, first of all. So in theory right now, you could bounce around a little. But eventually that will be properly cracked down. So the idea is a single. Someone else mentioned like keeping the one-time rates for products like this, and that's kind of the balance that I'm trying to constantly fall between. Like I don't want to have to build in a bunch of features to make it like impossible to move this around, and I also don't want to sell one copy and then it goes to a million or let's say thousands of people. So I'm kind of trying to tread that line between not ruining your show and saying like, oh, your license key expired, what are you doing here, please log in to reconnect. So I'm being very careful, but I think what I would say in return is like one key per computer would be the ideal use case here.
But say like I have my show here at my studio, right? And I'm using it here for this ATEM, and then I'm like going to go do a show out on site somewhere. So like I've got my laptop with me. Is your intent that like I could use it over on that laptop because I'm not using it at the studio, or is it like would you rather like get 2 licenses for that use case?
I think I would use my this is the two hats, the business hat and the let's just make it easy hat. And in that case I would just say, so long as it's not asking you for the license, then that's fine. You just go ahead and do that, and I'm happy enough with that. It may be that whenever licensing gets properly implemented, then it could be like a 2-computer kind of thing, like I do with H2R Graphics, which is basically the first license you can purchase is 2 activations, and in that case, my home computer and my away computer, it works just fine. So I'm fairly happy with it the way you can use it right now as it is, because honestly, I'm sure Aaron, but adding like even attempting to add licensing to an app is just like such a head scratcher. It's just it's annoying.
Well, and I would assume that if someone is using it at a like studio with multiple people running multiple shows, then like be respectful and like get the multiple licenses for that. But I feel like if it's just like one person and you have 2 computers and you're going to be only ever using one at a time, then is it really any different from having one computer at that point? Right?
Yeah. If there was a way to implement a personal license that wasn't via some sort of like plug it in key, then that would be, you're talking exactly what I'm interested in, right? Like you, Aaron, just bought this and you should go ahead and use it because you can only use one computer basically at one time. So you're right. Okay. You're on the money.
Great. IT Never Gets Old says, if I buy the dual platform license, can I use both in Mac and Windows simultaneously? finding all the edge
Yeah,
cases here.
no, not at all. In fact, that's exactly what I have built as a feature. So, or as an option. So you kind of explaining exactly how things are. In fact, if you bought the Mac version and you get a Mac Apple and you get a Mac Intel version, you could just use them both at the same time. So yeah, of course, if you buy the dual version, you could install that on the Windows and Mac at the same time. Um, yeah, go for it. Exactly.
Great.
Yeah,
Wood turning tool
I
store
guess
says,
you can tell, like, I'm trying to be as, as nice about it because that's how I want it to be.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
like, oh, no, 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 don't do that. Because it's just
Well,
like, come on, people are got common sense.
and like Wood turning tool store says, it's only $20. You can absolutely afford 2 licenses. This is not like it's
Exactly.
$1,000 purchase that you have to. Yeah,
That's the idea.
yeah. Great. Okay. Cool. Well, we should probably wrap this up. I think right before we go, I want to do a quick little BTS of like how this whole stream is working, because I think it's kind of fun for people, and I know that yeah. So the magic that makes this all happen. John and I are in a Zoom call, first of all. So we are just sitting in this Zoom window. John joined over Zoom. He does have 2 computers joined. One is the screen share computer, and one is his main camera. But this Zoom window is actually running inside of Zoom ISO, which is a app that looks like this. So lets me pull out feeds from the Zoom participants out various devices connected to it. So here I have participant John sent out the Ultra Studio Monitor 3G, which is the smallest and cheapest little way to get the video out. There you can see the frame rate and the resolution. This is how I was mentioning it was low res but high frame rate, versus John's screen share, which is the active screen share. So anybody who screen shares into the meeting will pop up here, going out over NDI. And the resolution is much higher resolution, but low frame rate. So I needed to get 2 video feeds out of the computer, and my DeckLink card power supply apparently broke, so I couldn't use my 4 output DeckLink. So I grabbed one out of the Ultra Studio Monitor 3G, one over NDI, and the NDI feed is being brought into a Magewell Pro Convert into the switcher. So then both of those video feeds are being sent into the Rodecaster video. So this is what's essentially running the whole remote stream. So I've got my camera running in here. I've got my audio running in here. John's camera, John's screen share. I also have a PTZ camera in here, but I haven't even showed it on the stream yet. And then the reason I use the Rodecaster video is because it makes the audio routing super, super easy, but apparently not easy enough for me to not make a mistake still. So this is the audio mixer in Zoom, and the problem was that because I've sent John's audio out HDMI, I had 2 copies of it, one from the USB interface and one from HDMI, so I had to mute the USB one. And now it's working. So I've got his audio here for the live mix. I can make a separate mix for my headphones, so I can mute myself in the headphones, which is super important, but I can still hear John. I can send back to Zoom. I can send my microphone, but not his audio, because we don't want him to hear feedback. So being able to do that audio routing in the Rodecaster video is like super, super useful for these kind of remote situations. And then, yeah, I just, once I've got the 4 feeds here, there's my camera, my PTZ, John, and the screen share. I can make layouts. I can make a layout of my cameras or our side by side. I can do this 3-up layout, or if I want just John by himself over there. And of course, this is not using H2R layouts. This is just Zoom or Rode's own built-in layout engine, but it works. It works pretty well.
It does.
And then finally, the last top of that is Rodecaster video back to the stream, because I am streaming with my normal rig of using the ATEM SDI to run the actual stream. So the Rodecaster is actually just outputting HDMI into my main setup here. So you can see I've got up here, this is the layout coming out of the Rodecaster video. I've also got the Rodecaster video multi-view here, so I can see a little preview of what's going on. And I've got, copies of John and his screen over there, so I can see him. And yeah, I think that's about it for the rundown here. Oh, cool. And Steve, thanks for the membership gifts. We should mention membership, channel membership here really quick. If you are a channel member, now thanks to Steve, make sure that you click the link below to find the Discord for my members only Discord. And also John has a Discord that is not for members only, so you can join his Discord and chat there as well. I hang out there a lot as well. I think I linked to your YouTube channel down below, but I guess there you have a link to your Discord somewhere, right?
Yeah, under every video, there's a link to the old Discord.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. I think we're going to wrap that up because, yeah, got to go pick up a dining room table on a bike.
Good reason. Very good reason.
Cool. Well, thanks. It was fun having you. Thanks for joining. We will let you go here, and then I'll wrap up the show with the credits. So thanks, John, for joining today.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And we are going to wrap this up by saying thanks to everybody for joining. And where's my credits? There we go. Thanks to all of the channel members. Thanks to the extreme supporters, Tom, Larry, Andre, Kevin, and Marcin. Appreciate it a lot. And thanks to all the channel members for your support. If you are not yet a channel member, go click the join button. It should be on the YouTube player down there somewhere. And you'll be able to join and chat throughout the week on my members only Discord, see some updates, some behind the scenes stuff as I'm working through things. And that was a lot of fun. Thanks again to John for joining today. And H2R Layouts is a super cool looking app. I'm gonna have to give it a try and see how it goes. All right, and with that, I think we're done for the day. We will be back here same time, same place next week to talk about whatever happens, and I will share videos from the bike ride with the giant trailer behind me. So we will see you then. All right, bye.